Hello, welcome to a presentation on an important topic to healthcare administrators, risk management. I will be making a proposal based on the experiences of my mentor, Erica Gallagher, the Regional Manager of Language Services at UC Health. I am excited to share my plan because no one wants to be thought of as inefficient. Choosing to do nothing to improve services is irresponsible, especially when those services serve a growing population of needy individuals. The subject of this proposal, language services at UC Health, is accountable to 12% of all the patients that seek care within the organization. Denver is the fifth most diverse city in the U.S., creating a large need for language services in the healthcare industry. By taking on a stewardship attitude, a population of needy people can be given the excellent care that they deserve. Here's what will be discussed. I will mention a bit about the history of language services, goals and strategy of the project, and how the operations will be affected. This will be a 3-year project. The first year will establish the benchmark of value and financing. The second year will be design of a navigator program and securing FTE with new hires. The third year will be the start of the operation. Let's look at Denver's growth. Denver is growing so fast, UC Health has been in a building frenzy to try to keep pace. That means language services must also keep pace to provide excellent service at the least amount of expense to the organization. Quality assurance in language services is pertinent to today's needs, and financial efficiency is important to the organization. I would like to say a word on strategy. A project should be based on principles. The span of this project is in depth to cultural competency, diversity, and equity in care. Researchers stress the need for policy alignment of inclusiveness within the delivery of health care. Leadership at UC Health has largely taken these concepts to heart and have acknowledged that patient experience is the driver of market share sustainability and growth. Let's look at the literature. What I find most important is language services as a necessity of risk management. The threat of damaging lawsuits is a strong driver to ensuring a good quality program. My mentor has mentioned that risk management is part of the executive strategy at UC Health. Any new or existing employee to the language services will have full knowledge through orientation and training of how risk management underlines the strategy of the organization. The two long-term goals of the project are 1. Improving compliance with quality assurance, and 2. Maintain budget constraints. The assessments I will use to evaluate the process will be patient surveys and financial budget statements. Although a thorough analysis of these two data sources will provide the benchmark of striving towards improvement. When patients report of having satisfactory or better experience, the plan is going in the right direction. When budget parameters are adhered to, the plan again is going in the right direction. The following slides will relate how the department could function more efficiently to build upon their reputable delivery of services. The two areas of efficiency I would like to talk about pertain to the patient experience and to the cost of providing the service. There are 3 actions needing attention to move towards reaching the set efficiency goals. 1. Leveraging reimbursement. 2. Promotion of patient surveys for program monitoring purposes. And 3. Utilization of staff. Teamwork is the best way to get a plan off the right direction. In the beginning of the planning stage, a list of the stakeholders to be on the project team is a good idea. As an example, the operational strategy between healthcare departments relies on good teamwork to seamless workings of the revenue cycle. Here's what I put together as stakeholders. Risk management team, the patient experience team, the revenue cycle team, the steering committee, which includes the ADA department, the VP and director, and the nursing director. Also, we have the payers and the patients. The focus I take from making this proposal comes from the Baldrige Award criteria for quality management, which criteria are based on structure, process, and outcomes. First, let's look at structure as an element of change. Leveraging reimbursement. Workers' compensation insurance, the big one being Pinnacle Assurance Company, potentially can be made responsible to reimbursement. If so, this saves UC Health money that could be used to fund staff payroll for providing the services rather than outsourcing the service through an expensive third-party vendor. The next structural element is promotion of patient surveys. The surveys aid management with the ability to monitor service performances, analyze demographics, form strategy for improvement measures, and provide data for fiscal budgeting needs. An increase of surveys to the patients and an increase to their return to management will enhance the survey's effectiveness. Now, let's look at process as an element of change. How to improve the survey process can be accomplished best through training language service staff who will take the time to explain the survey taking process to the patient. Last, we will look at outcomes as an element of change. Better patient experience will call for relying more on staff and less on vendors. By understanding the accounting cost of the language services, we will ascertain what resources will be needed to budget the necessary FTE to fill the place of vendor contracts. With having more services rendered by a robust staff, incident reports will be easier to conduct, and by analyzing mistakes, opportunities will be revealed for improving the services. When the Language Services Department increases their own interpreters and translators, they will need the proper education for their role. My mentor envisions a sort of navigator role that performs as a coach to see the patient throughout their healthcare experience. This navigator role will require special training and mentorship within the division. As well, training is mandated by the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, Section 1557. For instance, training would entail the proper use of iPads used in delivery of the services. I might add the Lopez-Bushnell 2020 article states that their study found that in-person training along with continued education was effective for training staff on equipment and resources needed for their positions. Having good quality information technology for making good analyses is important. My mentor relies on Adobe Acrobat to make PDFs for track and trend. Secondly, understanding the amount of language services rendered to workers' compensation patients will need to be figured out so there is an idea if payment from Pinnacle Assurance Workers' Compensation Insurance could be a good resource to fund the necessary FTE. As mentioned, language services are regulatory requirements. The regulators, besides the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, is the Joint Commission. To make a good proposal, a thorough assessment will need to be made to see how well the service is following regulations. Also, Butler 2016 shows how pushing for waivers from regulatory agencies can expedite initiatives to improvement projects. This is the end of my presentation, and I would like to close thinking about why this plan is important. Whether a patient either must go or chooses to go to receive health care, there is a certain apprehension when the patient does not have spoken or written English proficiency. Healthcare professionals must understand this vulnerability and gain the patient's trust from the start of the care. This is achievable through faith in God, who commands us to love one another. Now that you have purified your souls by your obedience to the truth so that you have genuine mutual love, love one another deeply from the heart, from 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 22. By providing excellent interpretation and translation service, we are loving deeply from our heart. I believe this plan gives a solid framework to achieve better value by reducing risk for the Language Services Department, with beginning the project in a teamwork orientation of inclusion of all stakeholders, working under the attitude of stewardship from a strong leadership stance that understands high-risk venture. The strategy will lead the project successfully.